Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to read an inspiring story about the power of belief and how your thoughts can shape your future. The title of this story is What You Believe You Become. This story teaches us that success begins in the mind. Before people achieve great things, they first believe that they can. If you constantly believe that you are weak, incapable, or destined to fail, your actions will follow those beliefs. But when you believe that you can learn, improve, and grow, you start moving toward a better future. This story is also perfect for English learners because it reminds us that fluency is not something people are born with. It is something they develop through belief, effort, and consistency. Let us begin. There was once a young person who dreamed of speaking English fluently. Every day, this person watched videos, listened to conversations, and admired people who spoke English confidently. Whenever they heard someone speaking smoothly and naturally, they felt amazed. However, deep inside, there was a voice that whispered, "You can never speak like that. Your English is not good enough. You always make mistakes." Although the dream of becoming fluent was strong, the belief in failure was even stronger. Because of this, whenever there was a chance to speak English, fear appeared. The person worried about pronunciation, grammar mistakes, and what other people might think. As a result, they stayed silent. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Despite spending time learning English, very little progress was made because the person's actions were controlled by their beliefs. One afternoon, while walking through a quiet park, the person noticed an old gardener planting small seeds in the soil. Curious, they stopped and watched. The gardener carefully placed each seed into the ground and covered it with dirt. The young learner asked, "How do you know these seeds will become beautiful plants?" The gardener smiled and replied, "Because that is what they were created to become. But they need water, sunlight, and time." The learner looked at the tiny seeds and said, "What if they never grow?" The gardener laughed gently and answered, "If I believed that, I would never plant them. Growth begins with belief. Every tree you see around you was once a small seed that someone believed in." The gardener's words remained in the learner's mind for many days. They started thinking about their own life. They realized that they were treating themselves differently from the seeds. They expected the seeds to grow with care and patience, but they expected themselves to become fluent immediately. Every mistake felt like proof that they would never succeed. Every difficult lesson felt like evidence that they were not talented enough. For the first time, they understood that the biggest obstacle was not grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation. The biggest obstacle was the belief that they could not improve. That belief had quietly controlled every decision they made. The next morning, the learner decided to make a small change. Instead of saying, "My English is terrible," they said, "My English is improving every day." Instead of saying, "I cannot speak English," they said, "I am learning to speak English." The words seemed simple, but they created a different feeling inside. For the first time, there was hope. The learner began speaking English aloud for a few minutes each day. Sometimes they made mistakes. Sometimes they forgot words. Sometimes they felt embarrassed even when nobody was listening. Yet they continued because their new belief encouraged action instead of fear. As the weeks passed, the learner noticed something interesting. Their pronunciation became clearer. Their vocabulary started growing. They could understand more videos than before. The changes were small, but they were real. Most importantly, they no longer viewed mistakes as enemies. Mistakes became teachers. Whenever they made an error, they corrected it and moved forward. The learner realized that every fluent speaker had once been a beginner. Nobody started as an expert. Every successful person had experienced confusion, failure, and frustration. The difference was that they believed improvement was possible. One day, an opportunity appeared. During an online meeting, Participants were encouraged to introduce themselves in English. In the past, the learner would have stayed silent. Fear would have won. But this time, they remembered the gardener and the seeds. With a nervous smile, they began speaking. The introduction was not perfect. There were pauses and small mistakes. Yet something incredible happened. Nobody laughed. Nobody criticized. In fact, people listened respectfully and encouraged them. After the meeting ended, the learner felt proud. It was not because they spoke perfectly. It was because they finally acted despite their fear. From that day forward, confidence began growing like a tree. Every conversation became practice. Every mistake became a lesson. Every challenge became an opportunity. The learner stopped comparing themselves to fluent speakers and started comparing themselves to the person they had been yesterday. This simple shift transformed everything. Progress became easier to see. Motivation became stronger. Instead of focusing on how far they still had to go, they focused on how far they had already come. Months later, the learner met someone who was struggling with English in the same way they once had. The person constantly said things like, "I am not smart enough," "I will never speak fluently," and "others are better than me." Listening to these words felt familiar. The learner recognized them because they had once spoken the same way. They shared the lesson they had learned from the gardener. They explained that beliefs are like seeds planted in the mind. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity, those things will grow. If you plant seeds of confidence, persistence, and hope, those qualities will grow instead. The struggling learner listened carefully, and for the first time, they considered the possibility that their future could be different from what they had imagined. Years passed, and the original learner became fluent in English. The journey began the day they changed what they believed about themselves. Learning strategies were important. Practice was important. Consistency was important. However, none of those things would have mattered without belief. Belief was the foundation that supported every action. When they believed improvement was possible, they practiced more. When they practiced more, they improved. When they improved, their confidence grew. And when their confidence grew, they achieved even more. Everything started with a belief. The story reminds us that our lives often follow the direction of our thoughts. If you believe you are incapable, you may never try. If you believe failure defines you, you may give up too soon. But if you believe that growth is possible, you will continue moving forward even during difficult times. Belief alone does not create success, but belief creates the actions that lead to success. Just as a seed needs water and sunlight, your dreams need effort and patience. Yet before any growth can happen, you must first believe that growth is possible. What can we learn from this story? We learn that the beliefs we hold about ourselves shape our actions, habits, and future. If you want to speak English fluently, start by believing that you can improve. Do not let temporary mistakes convince you that success is impossible. Every expert was once a beginner. Every confident speaker was once nervous. Every achievement began as a small dream in someone's mind. Believe in your ability to learn, keep practicing every day, and stay patient with yourself. Remember this powerful truth. What you believe, you become. When you believe in growth, you grow. When you believe in possibility, new opportunities appear. And when you believe in yourself, you unlock the potential that has been inside you all along.